Hi, this is David with the Discount Dragon, and we are here today with a new series on theoretical magic. And just to start off, I would like to point out, not qualified to speak on this topic at all, and I'm not sure who really is, but I'm certainly not. So don't take anything I'm saying as gospel, just take this as a thought experiment or wild speculation. Do your own research, don't pass this off to somebody else as fact, because I don't want to create false knowledge out there. However, I do have some interesting points to bring up, and here they are. So, we're going to be talking about magic in a theoretical sort of way, and the reason I'm talking about this is because, I am a nerd, and I have played a lot of D&D, I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi novels, and I would really, really like magic to be real, so I have a bias in that direction. However, I'm also analytical, and I'm not just willing to accept it because I want to accept it. So what I've got is some speculation on a theory as to some of the things that might cause magic to function in reality. So we're going to be talking about quantum physics, because that's where some really interesting things are going on. And the particular phenomena we're going to be discussing primarily is quantum entanglement. Now, I'm going to try to explain everything, simply and for the layman, especially since I'm one. But here we go. We got two particles. These are going to represent two subatomic particles. Now, with quantum entanglement, they can form a relationship and interact at a distance. What's unusual is that they can interact at a distance instantaneously without any sort of delay in that interaction. So if we think about other methods that you can interact at a distance, we have got waves such as radio waves and subatomic particles that act as waves in some circumstances. And what happens is you've got the paper towel, which is the space-time continuum, and it starts from one point, and the wave progresses along until it hits the other point. So the wave moves through intervening space at a given rate, and it takes a certain amount of time to make that distance. And the maximum speed that a wave can go, is in fact the speed of light currently. So that's how waves function. They move from point A to point B, and they distort the intervening medium. Now, also, things can travel as a particle. So point A, particle moves through the space-time continuum, the checkerboard, to point B. It takes time to do that. Sometimes an infinitesimal amount of time, but once again, the speed limit is the speed of light, and it takes some amount of time to move from A to B. It's a discrete thing, and it moves. Very easy to grasp. Now, with quantum entanglement, you've got a different sort of thing happening. You've got two subatomic particles that were either created at the same time together, or that have been brought into contact with each other. Now, once they're separated, they continue to have a connection. And if you affect this particle reacts. The thing is, it happens instantaneously. There is no transit time, which would rule out a particle, and it would rule out a wave, which are the two ways that conventionally the interaction would happen. The energy or information passes from one point to the other, going through the intervening space. So what I think is happening, or what could be happening, is we don't have a particle and we don't have a wave producing this effect. What we've got is something like this. It's a rigid construct, something like a string like a superstring, some kind of like directional force or directional structure at the subatomic level that doesn't ripple, it doesn't bend, it doesn't do anything. All it does is it connects these 2 points. So when you move one, it doesn't bend this, it doesn't affect this in any way, except it moves the entire structure at one time. So you're affecting this piece, and this piece here, which could be hundreds of miles away, is affected instantaneously. And the reason it's affected instantaneously is not because this happens, then something happens in between, and then something else happens. It's because it's all been glued together, and you're moving it as one piece. So this allows things to happen instantaneously over tremendous distances, and it really boggles the mind as to how that really works. Now, this may not be the only way this works, but this is, one theory. And what it does say is that the universe works in ways that we had previously thought that it did not. We thought something happens here, transition, something happens there. This is saying that these are connected by invisible strings, or what Einstein referred to as spooky action at a distance. He didn't like this stuff at all. He thought that this was not going to turn out to be real, but it has been scientifically proven to exist. They have done experiments. So quantum entanglement works. It works by some mysterious method, and they're not really sure what, but it does things that had previously been impossible, or thought to be impossible. Now, that just kind of opens the door to the universe working differently than we've been taught, and working in vastly strange ways. This is a very small phenomenon. It happens at the quantum level, which is the subatomic level. Now, this, in theory, could work its way up the chain if there's enough of these interactions and produce a macroscopic result. But it's not really a controllable thing. What you would need is a device that could manipulate matter at the quantum level in very sophisticated, very fine sorts of ways. And currently, we have not developed a tool that could produce a lot of quantum effects simultaneously. We don't have something that could fiddle with this sort of effect, then mess around on the quantum level on the sort of scale you'd need to produce a noticeable result, if it's even possible to produce a noticeable result, except for the human mind. The human mind can be manipulated, of course, by the individual person through manipulating their thought processes and meditation, things like that. So what you've got is in the human mind the only mechanism which we currently have of large-scale quantum manipulation, directed by a reasoned entity. So you've got a very weird, spooky effect, as Einstein described it, a spooky action at a distance that does happen and is responsible for a whole lot of things actually occurring in the natural world. They actually think that time may be a function of quantum entanglement. So, it's a very, very important part of the natural world that they've just been totally ignorant of up until relatively recently. And you've got the human mind, which by its very nature manipulates things on a quantum level on an ongoing basis. So perhaps the human mind can manipulate connections at a distance with zero transit time at some level. It's kind of a stretch, but I'm just kind of throwing it out there for people to think about. So quantum entanglement and similar sorts of phenomena manipulated directly by the quantum effects of the human mind could be a mechanism for getting magic to work. So there's my wild speculation for this episode, and on to the next one. Thanks for watching.